Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the fourth official video of Fatual Science. We have a great assembly today. Big round table. 2 engineers in the building, not just one. We have 2 engineers and a fat podcaster around the same table. It's going to be a freaking amazing show.
Engineering students.
I apologize. I like to speak highly of my friends, of course. So, that being said, we're going to go right into it. Andrew Abubakar, as you guys already know, he's been on the show. He has his beaker coffee. And our special guest for today, Hamza, which I feel like it's a great deal for him to be around this table. He's raising the IQ overall, because Andrew does help, but I mean, once he gets to talking, you guys will understand what I mean by that. So, Hamza, introduce yourself.
So I'm Hamza. These guys hyped me up way too much.
The bar was set high now. You can't go lower.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm studying aerospace engineering with a minor in computer science.
Because aerospace engineering itself wasn't
enough
you
for
know?
you?
So the minor...
No,
We're kidding. Relax. He's too stiff. He's too stiff, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to hurt nobody on this podcast. Maybe after. Behind closed doors.
Definitely after.
So, very simply, for someone who doesn't necessarily understand what aerospace engineering is, how would you explain that in a day-to-day, simple, basic conversation?
Well, I guess you'd have to say that it's a branch of mechanical engineering.
Let's say you're describing this to your grandmother. So you really got to make it basic, you know?
So what you do in aerospace engineering is you use math and physics, and you combine the two of them, and you can design certain objects or create certain solutions for day-to-day problems.
Okay.
You can analyze certain machines. You can create tests for said machines.
Okay.
So just a basic example. So this table over here.
Yeah.
An engineer had to come and test to see if these frames could support everything that's on the table.
So all the numbers behind it, the equation, the mathematics, the logic of this fitting onto this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, how is aerospace engineering different from building? Because I'm assuming you're not just building a table, you know?
So aerospace engineering is more specialized towards aeronautics. So, planes, jets, jet engines, and the like. So on a day-to-day, you could have the potential to be building, parts for a flying aircraft. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah, exactly. So, basically, in the summer, I work at this company called Pratt & Whitney.
Okay.
And what they do is they design and manufacture jet engines.
Okay, so...
And what I would do there is I'd go and I'd, design a certain part inside the engine, and that's what they would use on it.
That's crazy. So he's going to tell me that he's part responsible for planes taking off and landing back down. The engine, let's say.
Yeah.
But the engine still plays a part.
Yeah, of course.
In the going up and down. Okay.
That's Hamza, bro. That's Hamza.
So before I dwell into the intellectual aspects of it, which we will come back on because that's what the podcast will be about, I have a few questions. First of all, what's up with the Raptor sweater?
So I'm actually a fraud. My favorite team is the Spurs.
Okay.
But the Raptors have a game tonight. They're doing well in the East, so
You're
hyping
hyping.
them.
You're building that fake
Hamza's
hype.
a snake.
Oh,
So he's building that fake hype. He wants as much.
He wants all the hype.
It's my second favorite team.
Oh yeah, I have 7 favorite teams, so I occasionally transfer. That's okay.
Respect.
But now the main issue that I have with you being in this podcast room is, as you guys can see, I hope everyone can see, I'll lower my laptop. There are no coffee cups in front of Hamza.
Yeah.
There is only a water bottle. If any of you don't know already, my podcast revolves around coffee. Hence the mugs behind me.
Oh no.
Hence Andrew buying a beaker mug to come to my podcast. And then we have this aerospace genius of a man who tells me he doesn't want coffee. What's that about, bro?
So Hamza, are you too good for coffee? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, not at all. I just don't drink coffee. I never, I guess, got into it.
Never got into it?
No, never. And
you're not
it
supposed
wasn't
to get
necessary.
into it. You're just supposed to sip it.
Because it would be
Oh my
difficult.
God.
I mean, for someone studying, it's okay.
my
It's okay. We're only bullying him a little bit. That's all right. That's all right.
Wait, what's
hazing.
this
No.
taste for coffee? I don't...
Well, first of all, I didn't like the taste.
Okay.
Second of all, people drink coffee to wake themselves up a little.
Mm-hmm.
I never found that to be necessary. I'm good
He's
to
woke.
go for studying.
So Hamza's woke.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that naturally you're a step better.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Yeah. Little low-key over there. It's okay. So the taste didn't do it for you, and you really didn't get that appeal for the caffeine.
No, and it
waking
really
you up?
it doesn't wake me up. Like
Okay.
when I did try it, it didn't wake me up, and I didn't need it to study for anything or anything. Just water is good enough for me.
I respect that.
But again, like also another thing is I've really seen coffee as like sort of this addiction.
Okay.
And I've tried to like stray away from it because I have friends who drink like 3-4 coffees a day.
Dimitar.
And that you're saying was a cue for you to be like, I probably don't want to embark onto something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So more on the addiction cue. Is there like a reason why you were quote unquote, let's say, concerned of that addiction?
Well, I guess I'm sure you guys have heard the expression like you pick your poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I find I'm very addicted to my phone.
Okay.
And like what I mean by that is like if I go 10 minutes without my phone, I'll be like, oh, let me check if I got any messages or anything. And if I lose my phone, I have like this crazy anxiety because I have everything on my phone. I have pictures on it. I don't carry a wallet around anymore because I pay for everything with my phone.
So your vice and that one addiction that you hold true to, you'd rather it be your phone than anything else? Okay,
my saying is not pick your poison; it's pick all the poisons,
and then decide which one kills you first.
That's pretty much
right.
it.
And I'll cheers to that, buddy. We'll take that one in. Okay, so now that we got the funny topics aside, now that I feel like you're a little bit more eased into it, I have a list of a few questions that I had prepared. More topics than questions. We're not here to interrogate you. We're here to teach people, understand where you come from. So, you're an aerospace engineer, right? And from aerospace engineering, from the research I've done, I won't lie, I wasn't smart enough to figure this one out. I had to do some of my own research. The big name that continuously popped up, and I feel like it'll give you a little smile when I say this, is Elon Musk. One of the topics that he talks a lot about, which interests me a lot, is the Hyperloop.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your opinion on the Hyperloop and your explanation of the Hyperloop, because it is I'll give my explanation and you can add yours to it, and you can add as well. Sure, what I believe, it's a super fast means of transportation, super efficient, doesn't take up space. I believe it's underground.
Yeah.
So it makes everything a lot more accessible. It's just when you put the numbers together, it becomes frightening because it's a whole lot of velocity compared to the space that you're confined in. So if you could give like a bullet form explanation.
Can I say something?
For sure.
For anyone who's watched Futurama before,
okay,
it's kind of like the tubes that you see people moving through in Futurama. Like
okay, so it's the type of travel.
What it is for people that have never seen it. Yeah, it's a type of travel.
So essentially, what Hyperloop is like you said, it's underground.
Okay.
What they do is, or what Elon Musk did is he created this other company called the Boring Company.
Okay.
And what they do in that is they create these huge tunnels underground, for the Hyperloop. And the Hyperloop is basically like this pod that you sit in, and it goes through these vacuum tubes.
Okay.
And what I mean by vacuum tubes is that they essentially remove everything from it. So they take the air out of it. They take, essentially all matter out of it, so that there's no friction or anything. So that it goes, so the tube goes through very smoothly.
That's how the propulsion works. As in, like that's how the transporting happens. So they remove everything, all the air and all the molecules left inside of it for the tank to be able to propel faster.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that you've explained it, the main question becomes, do you believe in that said form of transportation? I'm not talking about next year, I'm not talking about 2 years.
As in,
do you think it's feasible? Is it feasible to have it around the world?
Yeah.
Not just because from what I know is I believe he's trying to do it in California or LA where traffic is all over the place. He's trying to go underground. Now let's say somewhere like in Canada, like here in our soil itself, is there like a certain type of layering that you need, or is it more just the engineering itself that makes it possible?
But just to touch on something you said, what the Boring Company is doing in LA is actually they dug tunnels, they created tunnels, but what they're testing on right now, what they're doing is, I think he put Tesla Model X in there.
Okay.
And so he has a Tesla Model X along a track, and the track is what's going to be driving through. So before we get to Hyperloop, he's going to be using Teslas.
So he's testing out the track prior to anything else before putting the actual tube inside.
Yeah.
And the testing of the track is to make sure, I guess, that like no accidents or no mess ups can happen throughout the route. Because that's where my question would be more, not necessarily the tube, because I'm sure the tube is science. There's numbers behind it and there's logistics behind it.
It's like a vacuum sealed tube.
For sure, but the tunnel itself, I feel like the agricultural setup is a much harder thing to work with than the numbers behind the tube.
Well, I mean, they've made subways, all around the world.
Okay.
And,
Now I feel extremely stupid. It's okay. It's okay. That's why I get smarter people to come on my podcast. Just bring me down a notch. So you're right. Okay. So subways, if they already exist, then the underground infrastructure by itself.
Tunnel's not the hard part. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the Hyperloop itself, I know there's a team of university students in Waterloo who are actively working on it, and there's students all around the world in different universities.
Yeah, there's an
trying
annual
to come
competition,
up with,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
trying to come
there's
up with
an annual
the best
competition.
Hyperloop competition, absolutely. Yeah.
So there's investing being put into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So now that you know that there's the investing and there's the competition, and I'm not asking you to predict anything or say anything, but how what's the window of feasible time for this project to make sense? Is it our lifetime? Is it the next 15, 20 years?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, as you probably know, technology is moving at an exponential rate.
For sure.
Yeah.
15 years ago, people were using dial-up internet. And it doesn't seem like a long time ago, but 30 years ago...
For people who don't understand, you want to explain
internet.
what dial-up internet
is? Yeah, 100%. So, what dial-up internet is that you have to connect a phone line to your computer. And it was super, super slow. And if someone was talking on the phone, you couldn't use the internet.
So for the 12, 13-year-olds watching this, you wouldn't be able to play all that Fortnite that you're playing when your mom and pop on. I remember how annoying it was to be yelling at your mom, "Mom, get off the phone. I'm trying to win the last level." But okay, so yeah, you're right. No, with the way technology is advancing, something like the Hyperloop, already his cars, just back to him per se as a person, the cars that he's making are already a notch above technologically. So the concept of building a Hyperloop is possible.
One thing I really appreciate about Elon Musk is he sees that the technology is there. He sees that there's potential for it, and he explores these routes that no one else has done. So SpaceX is another example of that.
That's like the next topic. That's the next topic I wanted to come to. Nice of you to introduce that. So SpaceX. So from what I know of SpaceX, and I'm going to speak again from the dummy perspective, and then we'll get the engineers to give their perspective in. SpaceX is a private mission of going to space, going to Mars, colonizing Mars.
It's literally Elon Musk openly stating that NASA's dumb.
Okay.
And that he could do it better. I don't know.
There's a bit of a disapproval.
Definitely did it better. It's not. That wasn't his intention, but he made it cheaper.
But I believe it's because it was of a private sector, so he put in more effort than I feel NASA would, because it was him. It was his name doing it. You understand?
But I know his primary reflection started when he was just like, "Why are we not reusing the rockets? That makes no sense."
And the last I know of is he's trying to get people to live on Mars, right?
At some point in time, he wants to create human beings. He wants to transform us into an interplanetary species. That's exactly it.
So full-blown, once again, same man who's convinced that we can travel underground at ridiculously fast speeds.
Absolutely.
Believes for 100% that we have the technology. Not only that we can, but we have the technology to be living in outer space.
The thing about Elon Musk that I think is so fascinating and amazing is not only is he intelligent enough to see that the application of these technologies, but he's also resourceful enough to actually use all of the resources and the people that he knows to raise funds to actually back these projects and make them a reality.
So the effort is there.
He's like Tesla and Thomas Edison combined in one kind of.
Because that's what I've realized. The more and more you check online, and the more you check on the science aspect of things, the more his name pops up on more and more and more and more projects. I feel like this man's just never stopping. So to what extent is... And up to date, he hasn't been wrong, with what he's saying. It's been applicable, but to what extent are these ideas concrete, Like the Hyperloop, we get it, but SpaceX...
What do you mean by concrete?
But I mean...
Feasible?
Feasible in the sense that it's... And don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to instigate a little bit, from your point of view, because I feel like you do to a certain extent associate with him because it is what you study and you do believe in the same concepts. So what I'm trying to figure out is how... quote unquote easy it is for me to say, in 20 years we could all live in space, How easy it is for me to say that compared to me applying that, because his goal is to apply that. He has his own private rockets. He's constantly working towards that. So I'm trying to understand to what degree it's actually doable,
Okay, so I guess to start off my answer, just to talk about Elon Musk a bit, I know he's also the lead engineer and designer of Tesla, so he knows what's going on. He's in there. He's working on everything, and I'm not too sure what he does for SpaceX, but I know one thing SpaceX did do is, like you said, they reused their rockets, which is huge because these rockets are insanely expensive.
And you're saying reuse, so you're saying that other space missions don't reuse their spaceships?
They don't
No,
use their spaceships.
So let's say
what it
NASA.
does- Yeah, NASA will send their rockets off and then it's done. But
It
what
just
Elon
floats
Musk
into orbit. They throw it like trash.
So it's just
Space trash.
wasted
Yeah,
billions.
he'll
Millions,
launch it
billions.
up and he'll make it come back down and land it. And
Land
reuse
it on a remote.
Okay, that's what I
Fucking
wanted to bring up. I read in the articles. I read in the articles that he has one of them that lands back on sea.
Yes.
Yeah,
It'll
that's the idea.
land back on sea without any concern.
So he has drone ships that basically just go around the sea, the ocean, and just go and put themselves underneath the rocket while his rocket is remotely landing on his remote
now
drone
the
ship.
10-year-old in me is like boiling up, and I'm looking at
It's
you and I'm
amazing.
like,
Yeah,
this
it's
is what you can do. This is what you can study, though.
This
you
is
know?
what Hamza
This
is studying.
This is what
he's
like
pursuing.
let's say 10 years down the road, like this is something that you'd understand, like to the
course,
T,
of course.
why and how this is working.
But that actually brings in. I just want to mention this. That's also why Hamza studied computer science. So
Oh,
in that
the
landing
minor-
rocket, it's not
the
just
minor
it's not
in
just the
computer
aerodynamics
science.
associated with the rocket, right?
Okay.
There's also the software and
So
the
that's
logic.
that's like a big boy. That's like a big boy combination of two
Yeah.
like important things.
Well,
for
listen,
sure.
when you're gonna disappoint your family and not become a doctor, you need to look for other avenues to still be
I mean,
impressive.
on a curveball for sure. Let's bring that up. You are Pakistani, no?
Yeah, I was born there.
You were born in
I
Pakistan?
was born in Pakistan.
Well, how old were you when you came here?
So it was 2000, so I was 3 when I came here.
Okay. I was gonna be like recent, but then I'm like it's been 19 years.
That's
It's
a
really,
97.
no,
baby.
It's really okay. You're a recent baby still. Okay, millennials. Recent baby, hipster babies. That being said, Pakistani. So as he mentioned, he brought up this point, which I'm assuming it's not the case. You know, it's still
No.
you are
Maybe low-key,
still an
I don't know.
aerospace engineer, but because we love to play devil's advocate, how was the reaction at home? You know.
Well, my dad's a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
So, like, it
it's
worked out, he
fitting.
was
It's
happy.
fitting.
And my parents are very supportive of everything.
Okay.
I
Do you
do,
have
so-
are you capable now? Are you at a place where you could have like super intellectual conversations with your dad?
Yeah, 100%.
Damn, that's crazy. So you guys talk about all these numbers and all these like
Yeah, like I'll
project
show
stuff.
him these SpaceX videos too. You know?
And he'll
like,
understand.
Yeah, he'll understand. He'll send me back some links. He'll be like, oh. Like,
Do you guys
try
have
to
any
do this.
topics that you don't agree on? Any concepts, any ideas that you might have that he finds just outright ridiculous?
No, not really.
You guys are on
We're
point.
We're on the same page.
Crazy. That's amazing. So I'm assuming it's like it's still rewarding for you to be able to say that you're studying aerospace engineering and get that like positive
100%.
reinforcement. Because I haven't studied it. I don't know enough about it, but I'm assuming it's not an easy day-to-day topic where
No,
like
definitely.
anyone can just do it and just by passing colors. You're nodding your head, but you do industrial engineering, so it's not the same level of difficulty. You understand?
Jeez.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Bukar coming in
man.
here with a size small t-shirt.
Oh man.
Trying to look bigger and better than all of us. He's gonna make a fat joke when he comes back. I can feel it already. Take a 5-minute break to mention to you guys that the sponsor for this podcast is Keep It Lean Apparel and I Buy Direct.
I buy direct.
So please, if you're seeing this I Buy Direct, give us a little bit of credibility, some
Send
kickback.
us some glasses.
Whatever,
like-
we've been buying, you know. I'll put the link in the bottom. Great website to buy glasses.
I'm just trying to see.
Alright.
Let's channel back into Hamza. You are the guest for today. We've covered a few big topics. I want to talk about on a personal note more for you. What are some concepts or projects that you hold dear? You know, in terms of aerospace engineering, like some things that maybe you would want to accomplish, achieve. Like what's your deal in aerospace engineering?
So either just to build onto that question, also when we graduate from engineering, we have something called a Capstone Project, which is like your big graduating project, and you present it to your professors at the end of the 4-year program. And so you need that in order to graduate. So to build on that, do you have any ideas for your capstone project? And
Yeah, okay, so I'll start with the capstone
Puts you on the
project.
spot, you know. Now you have to spill all the beans.
Yeah, no, it's
So
no
your
problem.
capstone project.
So I know for aerospace engineering, what the project is you're in a group of 30, 40 people.
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's
Okay, it's big.
hard to coordinate
30,
for sure.
40 people. We're
Yeah.
3 people and we're having a hard time
but
keeping the
check,
conversation
check
going.
what you have to do. What you have to do is you and your team has to design an entire plane. So they'll give you a mission, for example. They'll say, okay, so what this plane's going to do is it's going to go into the Arctic and it's going to be a
Crazy.
rescue plane
Okay.
for people stranded there.
Okay.
So you have to take all that into consideration.
It's
You
like
know
a
how
case.
cold it is. Yeah, exactly.
That's
and you have
crazy.
to design this entire plane.
So
Start
they
to
give you
finish.
protocols, they give you like A to Z,
100%.
and then you have to come up from ground up on how that plane
Yeah.
is. What, like, let's say
Do
what
you have
fuel
to
it's
build a
using.
model of the plane?
No, not a physical model, but you do have to design it.
on CATIA or
Yeah,
AutoCAD.
exactly.
And by designing, you mean like the specs and everything have to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Actual size?
Yeah, actual size. You do load testing on it.
Materials?
So there's different teams
Crazy.
for different things.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
you could have 2 guys working on materials. You could have 3 guys working on testing to see if the wings are going to be able to, not come apart during the flight.
Of course,
Because
yeah.
I'm
You'll
assuming
have-
that's an
yeah,
important
exactly.
Yeah, I
part
think
of the
so,
flight,
maybe.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, you'll
Like,
have,
yeah, it'll work for the last 5 minutes, but taking off the wings
yeah,
might
no,
break.
it's not- yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's all right. So your project is essentially 30 to 40 people working on a plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be my project.
Okay.
Come September.
And you already have like some ideas on how, like, what materials you would, or do you have to wait until you
honestly,
get the specifics?
that's a later Hamza
Yeah,
problem.
you're worrying
Yeah.
about that when that
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
comes.
exactly.
Immediate Hamza problems. Let's say this is like I'm assuming it's a fun question for someone in your field, and I'm assuming you could bring in your input as well.
Definitely.
Let's say you have let's say you have Elon Musk funding behind you. What's something like he makes his what he calls not a flamethrower, which I do think is a flamethrower, but he made that. He makes his toys and he has cool little gadgets that he works with. It's say you had the same amount of funding. What's something that you would wanna try and build? And let's say even if it exists,
The flamethrower, it was actually what he used as a barbecue lighter.
crazy, just a regular barbecue lighter.
Yeah, and he put it in like the holster of a gun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it used to be called the flamethrower, but like legally you couldn't sell something called flamethrower.
So
So
he
he changed the
changed it.
name to not a flamethrower.
Not a flamethrower. It's a good salesman at the same
Troll.
time. So, okay, and again, let's say it does exist, whatever it is, but like, we don't all know of everything that exists. So from your point of view, if you could make something back, like now, unlimited funding, Hamza Brain right now today,
man.
is there one thing that you would want to try to build with the knowledge
Try
that
to
you
fund. Okay.
One thing I try to fund,
Yeah.
for sure, quantum computing.
Quantum computing. This is where like everyone just presses the X
Yeah,
button
they're
and
like,
they're like,
"Ah, we
no,
outta here."
we're
They're
done.
like,
Yeah, what is
15,
that?
forward 5
15 minutes too long already.
Quantum computing.
Quantum. So
I
off
feel
the bat,
smart just saying that.
Off the
Can we
bat-
just say it one more time?
Quantum.
Quantum computing.
I think I know what computing means. I'm assuming it's related to computers.
Quantum.
I have no idea what quantum computing is.
Teach me.
Yes.
Okay, so the way a computer works is it uses this thing called bits. So essentially it's just ones and zeros. So everything you see on your computer, it's taking this code and it's turning into ones and zeros and it's transferring that information back to you.
Okay.
Now with that, as you can probably imagine, you're very limited to what you can do. It's either a 1 or it's a 0. There's no in between. But with quantum computing, what it allows you to do, it allows you to use these particles at different states. So you could have more than just 2 options. So I guess the idea of quantum essentially is that something can be more than one thing at once. Which is...
My brain
Yeah,
just
okay.
hit the biggest
It is.
wall and it's
Quantum-
like,
quantum's
what
hard
are
to
you
understand.
saying? So
So,
you're saying the 1 and zeros can have different forms as well.
Instead of just ones and zeros, like
or
how many?
here, so the classic example to show anything about quantum mechanics is Schrodinger's cat. Now
Okay,
what Schrodinger's
yeah.
cat is
Yeah,
is
heard of this.
so say for example you have this cat in the trunk of your car.
Okay.
And it's been there for like a week or so and you don't know if it's dead or alive. So when you stand in front of your trunk, before you're about to open it, the cat is both dead and alive.
By definition.
By definition.
Because you don't know.
It could be both.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
could
both.
be both. And the thing that's weird about quantum mechanics is that the cat is both. It is both dead and it is alive at the same time.
Okay.
Which is hard to understand because, the world we live in, things are very...
It's
black
there.
or
It's
white,
one
you
or
know?
the other.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
one or
One
the
or the
other.
other.
Yeah.
So this is opening like a completely separate concept where it's both.
But what he's
Exactly.
trying to say at the end is your presence and you actually observing the cat inside your trunk alters the outcome of whether or not that cat was alive or dead.
And how is
So
quantum
the observer
affected that?
changes the result.
Is the observer then therefore is the observer the quantum or
No, the quantum is just like, I guess, the physics behind
Okay.
what's going on.
Okay.
And
then
like,
the
it's-
added the fact that the observer is now there changes the outcome of it
Yeah.
being a 1 or 0 or A or B.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so quantum computing. Ladies and gentlemen, we learned something new today. It's not only educational, but it is factual.
It is factual.
And
It
hence-
is science.
Hence the
This is
science.
the
Hence
science.
the science. Don't get mistaken, people. I have no scientific background. I lie and I bring these smart engineers on my podcast and I just pretend like I know what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is not a size small shirt.
no.
By the way,
It's an extra.
that.
It's a large.
I love how you
definitely
walked
extra
away.
small.
I love how you walked away just to like check the tag on it.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, I have to make
Yo,
sure.
when Patricia buys you a nice shirt, you don't complain and you don't question.
Honestly, good job, Patricia. It is a nice shirt.
Patricia's
Shout out,
amazing.
Patricia. I love you.
It is a nice shirt. Wow, look at that. Just taking the limelight and the spotlight to call out his mommy.
What you wanna? We should all just say something to our moms right now.
Yeah, you want to take a
Hamza,
30-second
just mom appreciation.
second mom's appreciation. I guess
I
we
love
all.
you, Hamza's mom.
I love you, my mom. I love all
I
of
love
the moms
Sako's
for
mom.
sure.
Thank you for making Sako.
For sure, and the same goes to. It's a very weird moment right here, but same goes to all the moms because this podcast wouldn't have happened.
Shout out to all the moms.
Shout out to all the
We gotta
moms.
get-
Yo, it's
Humble engineers thanking their moms.
dad's not that important.
Not
there
today.
could have been another dad,
Not today.
but there's
Oh,
only one mom.
Always one mom. Maybe we should.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we should
take
just,
that out.
I'll just block it. I'll put some white static noise. Guys, I want to get into one last topic. I want to get into one last serious.
It sounds like we're at the end.
One last serious topic,
Okay.
and then we'll just ramble on at the end. One last serious topic. I want to pick
Love
a
the
few more
rambling.
bones over here.
Yeah.
You both are engineers, respective
Students.
fields, right? Students, both engineers.
trying.
Students. Okay, you
Not
take
there
it
yet.
too literally. What's the big
Ain't got
difference?
no ring.
What's the big difference between industrial engineering and aerospace engineering in the concept of like work? Like where does one lead and where does the
Like
other
the
one lead?
day-to-day work?
Everything, like the field, what kind of material do you study compared to what you study, and then like 5 years down the road, what industrial engineering can offer Andrew,
Oh, okay,
and then
okay,
what
okay.
aerospace engineering can offer you.
Okay. I'll start with just talking about industrial engineering and how much easier it is than aerospace and every other discipline. Shout out Medi, it's facts. Sorry Cynthia, it's facts.
Some personal stuff going on. Jeez.
So first and foremost, like what is industrial engineering? It came into fruition during the Industrial Revolution when manufacturing became like a really big thing. And what we do is process improvement and we apply mathematical principles to improve systems. So any sort of system. So if it's manufacturing, you're trying to cut costs or cut the amount of time that it takes to manufacture something. And again, we're applying just mathematical principles and concepts to these problems in order to arrive at a cheaper solution. So that's in short what industrial engineers do. The type of like my course load varies greatly from Hamza's. So for example, I don't have to take as much applied sciences as Hamza does. So I just had to take thermodynamics 1. Hamza has to take thermodynamics 1 and 2. I just have to take material science 1 and that's it for me. So I'm less of an engineer and I'm more of a problem solver. So where I have to take material science 1, Hamza has to take material science 1, 2, mechanics of materials. He has to dig deep, right? So if he's going to be designing an airplane, he has to know all
the numbers,
Yeah.
all
All
the
of it, yeah.
potentials.
And I'm not going to be designing anything, to be honest with you. So where would Andrew find himself in 5 years with an industrial engineering degree? Maybe as a quality engineer, manufacturing engineer. There's something called continuous improvement engineering. So constantly making systems better. Or even, to be honest with you, I could find myself in the role of a professor one day if I get a master's degree. So the main difference I'd say between our disciplines is that his is very applied science. Like he's constantly applying the science and the courses that he learned. Whereas I learned thermodynamics, I learned material science, I learned all these things, and I'm not going to be applying any of them in my job. Or if I do apply them, like very minimally. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And like another thing I'd like to add is that with engineering, one thing you can really do is, or I guess in all engineering, you're really a problem solver, you know? Like
Yeah,
you're taking these problems and you're thinking out of the box for these solutions.
For sure.
So one thing you can go into is management as well.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. So consulting,
Just
project
overall
management, just
overall
management. Yeah.
Because you guys study so much of, like you said, these problems, how to fix problems, where the problem is, and everything. You guys could manage
For
day
sure.
to day situations like it's nothing.
Manage teams and manage projects. So,
for sure.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, understand
exactly
the
it.
direction, have the organizational skills required.
Because I feel like it is a very pressure like situation, you know, like the studying and like the thing you are studying. So in a position where you have to manage a team and deal with the problem of the team, I feel like it does give you some set of skills.
Yeah.
That makes it easier is a very sensitive word to use here, but it makes it more of a feasible and doable thing for you to manage that situation because you've studied it in harder situations. I mean, solving a problem on how an engine shouldn't crash in the middle of a flight, I feel like it's a tad bit harder than solving a problem as to why this isn't working properly or this isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Let's say, for example, now myself and Hamza found ourselves at Bombardier or Pratt & Whitney, both working at the same company. I'd think, again, Hamza would be more on the applied side, actually working on designing aspects of the engine, designing aspects of the plane, doing stress testing, stress analysis on the plane, which is, again, very applied engineering. Whereas I'd find myself maybe in a project management role. So we'd be working on the same project, but he'd be on the applied side, actually doing the smart stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just be keeping track of all of the employees, of the project itself, of deadlines, making sure we're meeting deadlines and so forth. And I would also probably do presenting of the project.
So there is a difference between them.
Major
Yeah,
difference.
of course.
Major
There is a
difference.
big
Yeah.
difference.
And I think it plays to his strengths and my strengths.
For sure,
respectively,
for
you know?
sure.
Yeah.
And more of an applied theory, more of a managing theory, more
People's-
for sure.
people's person.
Yeah, for sure. And if I could ask you, if sitting here, like you're 97 baby, like we said, you know, you're still young. So what would you offer someone 2 years younger than you, or 3 years, still in college, like not sure, like I shouldn't do aerospace, because you clearly
Oh, I
watch
love
sports,
that
you know,
question.
you clearly watch sports.
Yeah.
You're clearly not missing out on life, you know. You
No,
do.
never.
I know. I've seen some pictures of you training. I know you're still going to gym.
Hamza Flex.
He's gonna
No,
get
he-
jacked, ladies and
2019.
gentlemen. He's gonna get
2019.
Bigger. He's gonna get bigger than Andrew Bukar.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
Okay, at least Giovanni. At least Giovanni.
Getting bigger than Gio is not a big feat.
No, it's clearly not an accomplishment for people who study engineering. You know.
But yeah, so what would you say to these kids?
For sure, like anyone who's let's say I'm 19, I'm
You're
in college,
thinking about-
and I'm like I want to do this, but like why? I won't be able to see my friends. I won't watch dumb stuff. Like I won't watch sports. I won't have a life. But which clearly you're still standing here, sitting actually, watching sports, going to the gym, hanging out with Andrew, having enough time to come on a podcast. What's your like? Don't be tacky. Like you can do anything. Just more of a
Oh, I need to answer this.
the
after.
apply the fact that it's doable.
Yeah, of course.
sure.
So if your biggest concern is that you're not gonna have time to do other things, really what that comes down to is, you know, managing your time. And if you're at a spot where you can get into this engineering, I'm sure you've gone through a lot of school. You're probably doing sciences in CEGEP right now if you're in Quebec.
Been hustling.
Yeah, you've been hustling.
Because
You
I
know-
feel
you
like
know how it goes.
I feel
you
like
know?
to a certain
struggle.
extent, it's not just any program where you could have like a 70 score and be like, I'll take you at a 70, you know? Like there has to have been a certain amount of studying.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, time management already. Did you spill water on yourself again?
No.
Okay.
Definitely.
That would have been 2 times in the last 2 podcasts,
Not
and we
this
would have to
time.
give you a bib or something.
Bib next
just to
time.
make sure that you're not spilling water. I don't think they make bibs small enough for your neck though.
Get like a whole poncho going, man.
I'm sorry, there's
Yo,
no
what
beef
the fuck?
over there.
Yo, can I answer that though? I like this. I
If
like
he's
that
done,
question.
if he's
Are you
done with
done?
his answer,
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, yeah, there is a certain threshold to get in.
yeah.
And these
For
people
sure.
obviously know the work that they have to put in and how much work that they
Yeah.
have to put in. They know how to optimize their time.
Okay.
Everyone studies differently. And if they figured out the way they can study most efficiently, then like there's nothing to worry about. You know, like you will have time to study. You will have time for a lot of other things.
Before we go to Andrew,
Sure,
though, just
yeah,
before,
yeah.
so you can comfortably say that you don't hold back on any social events. You still enjoy your day to day.
Yeah, of course. Always,
Perfect.
Always.
So it shouldn't be, none of them should have a concern of that I'll lose my socializing time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that though, because there's a lot of students that live. These chairs are spinning, man. Sorry about
You're
that.
spinning. bro.
Because you're not heavy.
The
You're
room
not
is
heavy.
spinning right
You're
now.
not heavy
Oh
enough for
my
the
God.
chairs. That's why.
165 pounds.
The feathers. Anyways, please keep going on.
Okay, so let's not mislead people. So we saw Hamza speak a bit, and for those of you who don't know, like Hamza is actually a very intelligent person. So not everyone is gonna have the same experience in engineering. For example, like I started in mechanical engineering and I flunked right out. Like I failed all my midterms. I dropped out of school because I didn't understand what was expected of me in order to succeed in the program. So like everyone's gonna have a varying workload. It depends on your intellectual capacity, like your IQ and like your ability to understand concepts and entertain complex concepts. With that being said, there's also a work ethic associated with the program,
For
right?
sure.
Like putting in the studying. So you could be a
For
smart
sure.
kid, but you still need to know how to solve the problems on that exam. So of course you can have a social life. Of course you can make money, go work, go to the gym, and still do well in school. But like Hamza said, it comes down to time management.
Prioritizing.
And the task of studying engineering or studying medicine or studying anything really, at the end of the day, will be variable depending on the person doing the task. Like
It's a very nice answer.
it's going to be more difficult depending on who's doing it, right?
For sure.
So where Hamza finds things super easy, like I'll actually have to put in the 3-4 hours of studying. Like I tried one semester studying exactly like Hamza. I failed the class. It doesn't work. I can't
Is he
study
trying to
like
say?
that.
Is he trying to say like you're smarter than the average Joe.
Let's
The
just
average
say, let's just
Andrew.
say he did super well in probability and statistics and never moved his pencil. So he just read the textbook, went to the exam, and did well.
But is that something you're like? Is that just you're good at like?
He just understands. He reads and he
you just-
understands.
okay, so you're someone with a lot of topics where you read it and you understand it, or was it just that one topic that it was super easy for you to get? Like, let's cheat here. Let's ask you like a
Let's
not
be
fair.
honest.
Let's ask you a
Okay,
not
well,
fair
I
question.
understand, like, my ability to grasp concepts is, I guess, above the average
It's
person.
definitely above the average person's.
And I just understand quickly, and, like, I'm able to apply it to different
Okay,
things.
so that's an honest answer. It's a fair answer.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I'll speak from my point of view. You know, that was always something that was a bit tougher for me. You know, I didn't have that grasping of the knowledge off the bat. So I feel like you said, you know, it's different. There's different levels of studying for everyone.
For
Whereas something that you understand right off the bat, I might need 4 hours. Andrew might need 2 hours.
Yeah.
So in big sum, both of you are agreeing on the point that like you can still enjoy life. It's just make sure that you're putting your load responsibly. Where
Absolutely.
And for sure, like, make sure that what you're going into is something you enjoy.
Okay,
That's
For sure.
That's what I was
the
waiting
biggest
for.
thing.
That's what I was
That's
waiting
the
for.
biggest
Like,
thing.
Yeah.
like it's not something that you're pushed
Yeah.
into. It's not something that you're forced to do because let's be honest. You mentioned 4 years. It is a 4-year program.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy.
You're gonna do quite a bit of school load, internships. I don't know how the program in itself works, but
okay.
I've been around you enough where I know that you have to apply to these internships. You have to put in some work.
Well,
Well, we're in
you don't-
co-op.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that's a specific program
Okay.
where you do up to 3 4-month internships throughout your program. That way you graduate with some experience, so you're more marketable.
okay,
to
so it's
corporate.
more of the experience aspect.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And-
And it's not something you have to do, you know? Like, there's a lot of students
And-
not in co-op. There's
Yeah.
a lot of universities that don't even have a co-op program.
Okay.
And they still graduate these engineers. But the advantage you get with co-op and with these work terms
the
is, like you
experience.
said, yeah. the
Yeah, and not only
experience.
that, well, I'm in co-op. I think Hamza's actually not even in co-op. He has a special program that he's a part of. He's in an apprenticeship. So you want to
Wow.
describe that to
Yeah.
Sako?
Yeah,
Go for
so
it.
basically what happened is I was 19, first year engineering.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
essentially, there were 5 companies that came to us. Bombardier was included, Pratt & Whitney was included, and they're like, okay, so we want to hire one of you guys to be a design engineer for us for 4 summers in a row.
Wow.
So just based off his like grades and his CV and that first
whatever
semester or second
whatever
semester,
he had in that
yeah,
moment right
they
there.
wanted him.
And they were like, okay, so we'll hire you. You'll come work for us for 4 summers. Like, the first summer, they gave a training. It was very basic. My applied knowledge wasn't there.
Crazy.
Then I went
Yeah.
back last summer. I'm going back this summer. And
So
then
it's a huge
next
investment
summer.
that they're doing in
Is
Hamza.
it-
Like,
It's just for anyone who would want to know. Is there any monetary value attached to it?
oh, of course.
So yeah, it's not a not pay. It's not a voluntary.
Yeah,
This
no,
isn't a
it's
political science degree.
Oh, why are you gonna hurt some people like that? I feel like 90%. I feel like 90% of my watchers are in political.
Yo, no
science.
hate. Like, there's jobs for you at Starbucks.
So,
I'm just joking, guys. I'm just joking. Can we continue?
guys, it's just opinions. Don't
It's
get
just
mad. We
opinions.
already know it's just opinions. So it is 4 years. It's fat. It's not fat. It's fat.
the
True
fat science.
So it is a commitment. Like you said, it is a big commitment that they put in you,
For
and they
sure.
ask of you that same big commitment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Of course, it's a two-way.
And is it something where, and if we can't dwell into it, feel free to say it, but is it something where 4 summers later you would want to still be at that company?
Yeah, 100%.
The thing is,
So-
a company like that's going to pay your way to an MBA. That's the type of company that's really going to invest so heavily in Hamza that it's a
But
no-brainer.
more than that, do you see growth for Hamza in a company like that? You know, do you see
Yeah,
do you
100%.
see you being able to flourish and have your own ideas in a place like that?
Yeah, 100%.
That's amazing. So that makes it so much better for you to, on a day-to-day basis, to know that both the company you work for and the work that you do is synced together. Like, you could grow as a person.
So I guess when I was younger, I used to be in Air Cadets. And I really had
Okay.
a huge passion for, like, you know, aerospace and everything related to it. So going into work for me, in the summer, it really wasn't like a tedious task. Like, it's something I really enjoyed doing. I enjoyed every second that I was there, and I was always looking for ways to contribute, you know, and it was fun for me.
That's what it comes down to. If you
Yeah.
enjoy,
So-
if you're enjoying, because it's like any other thing. If you're enjoying it, I feel like it just makes it so much more okay. Like,
Doesn't
you
feel
forget-
like work.
Yeah,
You
it
forget
doesn't feel
about
like
you
work.
forget
Yeah.
about all the numbers and all the science, and it just
Exactly,
becomes
yeah.
something where like let's say it's you love the airplane parts and the engine parts. So for you, it's all just you're like a kid in that moment. You're like,
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just like to bring it back to that question that you had, where we have to give advice to someone, let's say who's in high school or in CEGEP, because I'm sure there's going to be some guys watching this.
For sure. And if either one of you can motivate one person to go for like engineering studying, it's amazing.
The thing is, with engineering, the work that's required of you is, like I said, variable. But at the end of the day, it sounds cheesy, but literally any one of these viewers that is watching this podcast right now can become an engineer. Like, it's just a matter of how much work you're going to have to put in, because it's a matter of how difficult it is for you to understand the mathematics or for you to understand the physics. So again, that's variable for everybody. But at the end of the day, if you come to terms with the fact that you're going to have to work X hard, or however hard you have to work, and you just put in that work, like, of course it's attainable. First. Second, just to sum up what we've been saying, it's like, one, make sure you're studying something that you love. So you don't even need to love it in the moment when you're studying it, right? Like for industrial engineering, some of the classes I'm studying, like, I don't really like, but I see that end result. I see the actual job that I'm gonna love after the program's done.
Yeah.
So a lot of students I find are short-sighted. They'll be in health science or pure and applied, and you'll be even in social sciences, and you're taking these classes where you have to write essays, and you're like, oh, I hate writing this essay right now, so I'm gonna drop out of school right now, and you're not thinking about
4 years down.
4 years down the line, 5 years down the line. If I just get through what I hate right now, it's just offsetting your happiness or your satisfaction. If I get through whatever stupid classes I don't like right now, I can get that beautiful job that I want later down
I feel
the
like
line.
it comes down to the topic that we spoke about on the previous podcast, where so many people just want it now. You know,
Oh, for sure.
They can't.
Yeah.
I feel like when you said a 4-year program, like, you lost like half of the people listening to like 4 years.
Like,
you have to do this.
a quick fix.
You have to do this this work for 4 summers in a row for the same company.
Yeah.
It's especially in a program, in a career this big. You know, you're building moving parts for gigantic things. You're helping
For
people.
airplanes, yeah.
Like anyone who doesn't grasp how big the work that Hamza is speaking about is when you fly from Montreal to Europe, anywhere in Europe or down south or wherever it is, that airplane was built by someone who studies aerospace engineering. Those parts, the engine, those parts inside
100%.
come together by someone who studied this program. So you can't do it from one day to another. It's not like just popping up a table, a
Absolutely
poster,
not.
a wall unit, and starting your own podcast. You know, it's not, it won't happen tomorrow. You have to apply the work. So if you're, to sum up from what I get from what you guys are saying, yes, you can have the social life, you can enjoy your life, but you have to be ready to commit for those 4 or 5 X amount of years of studying and working hard, because it's not going to come back from one day to another.
Yeah, and if there's any viewers that are actually going to go into engineering, I think like that one key tip that I'd give, and I think Hamza might be able to agree on this, is you're not going to get through the 4-year program studying alone. You need to form study groups. You need to create a network of friends that you like to study with. Like, it's really, really underrated. Studying in groups is very underrated, and I think like it's literally how I'm 2 years deep and how I'm going to be able to finish this program.
Because it gives you access to like different point of views.
It gives you access to different point of views.
People have different perspectives. You know, one thing I really learned in school is that, you know, people have different ways of studying, and maybe like the way one of your friends studies can help you understand what it is more.
Then there's the emotional support aspect. Yeah. Like, there's so much to it.
Because it's draining. It has to be. It can't. It's 4 years of studying like hardcore numbers and applied. It gets to you, definitely. So I understand the community aspect of, let's say you have, whether it's 2 people that you can alternate from and sit down and study with. And I guess this is why it got you guys here. You know, there's like a level of comfort grown between you guys, because you grow from one to the other. Yes, like we joked around and said industrial's easier than aerospace.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't prohibit you guys to sit down next to each other and be like, yo, I can learn this from you, you can learn this from me. And applied, it helps you grow and it helps you grow.
Oh, for sure. Just like for this semester alone, we have 2 classes together. One's an industrial engineering class called Quality Engineering, and the other one is Technology and Society, which is like a technical writing class. And Hamza's been helping me a lot with my writing, you know, reading my essays, telling me where I could do better.
So you guys give a thumbs up to groups.
Oh, yeah.
Study
More
groups
than a thumbs up. It's almost a necessity. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Really? Do you feel you study better in a group? Depending on the subject.
Okay,
depending on the subject.
Really, it depends on the class.
Depending on the class and the subject,
sure.
but do you feel like it gives you like a good extra when you're in a group?
Absolutely. I like to use group study sessions as a way of solidifying knowledge. So I'll rarely try to learn new topics while studying with a group. So I'll do my own studying by myself.
Okay. It's very smart.
Try to understand the topics on my own. build some sort of general foundation for the topic in my head, and then bring that foundation to a group study session.
That's very smart.
Where I allow my friends to add on to it, and I could also ask questions based on what I previously understood. And then after that group study session, the idea is really painted in my head, and I understand what we're doing. That's how it works for me. Yeah.
But obviously, it does depend on the individual and
Of
how
course.
they study. Like some people prefer studying alone. That's what they do, and that's completely
And if
fine.
it works for you, like
That's
Yeah,
it.
do
That's what
it.
it comes
Yeah,
down
like,
to, no?
find what works for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
for sure. And honestly, like we've been talking a lot about school, but like there's a lot that will work for you that just doesn't have to do with academia at all. You know?
Yeah, don't feel like, first of all, like up front, there's two people who are in academia, you know, both of you are studying engineering and I'm not, so don't take this as a sense that you have to be in academia, no, but anyone who wanted to study engineering and wasn't sure about it or is afraid about it, I hope you could take from this podcast that it's not the end of the world, you know, you're not going to lose out on life, like you're not going to regret your decision, like you're standing here, you're still comfortable, you're still smiling.
Yeah,
Same
for
you,
sure.
You know?
And like, if you have any questions, feel free to hit
Of
either
course,
of us
I'll
up.
put.
And
Are you on social media?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll
Hamza
mention.
Malik, at Hamza Malik, put it like
I'll
right
put
here.
it. I'll put it like it'll pop up.
like a
I'll
Y
see-
in the middle, it's my middle
Just
name.
like a ping, little flash over there. I won't put Andrews because I feel like he spams it enough on social media, so you guys should know. But I will put Andrews. Don't worry about it, guys. But it's just to say that there is a resourceful market available. You know, you won't shut people out. You know,
No, never.
I'm sure.
Email to hamza@gmail.com.
Bro, are you putting everything out there?
Now you can and put his home address in the bottom like, right here.
Should it be right here? Phone number.
social insurance number, credit card number.
The number in the back of the credit card right here.
We have everything we
CVC.
need. You're done. You're stuck here for the rest of your life. I apologize to Hamza's mother. We're gonna ruin it. No, guys, but for the real, there is a certain amount of like knowledge that he can. And I'm saying this from my point of view. It's not even him saying it. I feel like there is a certain amount of knowledge that you could offer to people who haven't studied the program yet, or even for people who are in the program and are having like a rough time. Maybe you've hit a wall or whatever it is. Feel free. If you want to message him, send him a message. If you have any questions, if you have any questions about the Hyperloop or the SpaceX project,
I have a good suggestion.
go for it.
If there's any high school students that are watching this and think they want to study engineering, obviously message us. But at the same time, there are CJEP programs, 3-year technical CJEP programs that immerse you in the field of engineering from the age of 18, 19 years old. So if you think you want to go into engineering, you could take a software engineering 3-year technical deck at Vanier or Dawson. Same thing for mechanical or building engineering. So I think that's a great option for people that are entertaining the idea.
It gives you an easier route into it. You know,
Absolutely.
you feel it out. You see if you
For
enjoy
sure.
it more or less, and then you can carry it on in university.
Exactly. And if not, if you don't want to carry it on, you could just join the workforce right away. And you could work, so you're not a full-blown engineer. You don't get the ring, you don't get the title, but at the end of the day, you're an engineering technologist or technician.
What's up with the ring? You guys get a ring at the end
The
of it.
ring.
so-
What's up with the ring?
like
you know
a
the
nice-
story? You want to tell them the little
Yeah, so
story?
basically what the story is I think
It's like a
in the
cult.
early 19
It is a cult.
In the early 1900s, what
Okay.
happened is that there was a bridge that collapsed.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I don't remember how many people passed away, but it was a huge
Early.
tragedy.
Do you know what the name of it was? We can try to search it up.
Maybe, but it
Yeah,
doesn't really
sure.
matter.
Okay.
Yeah,
They
but
could Google it as well.
yeah. So what the story
for
is
it, yeah.
the bridge collapsed because of an engineering failure.
Ooh.
So someone made a huge mistake that cost all these lives. So
Okay.
and the ring is called the iron ring. It used
Okay.
to be made from the iron that was used in that bridge. And
Ah,
every
that's a
engineer
nice-
would wear
They
That's
it
literally
nice-
made it from
as
the
a
iron.
reminder that
Yeah.
you know like what you do does
Affect
impact
people's
lives,
lives.
so you can't
Yeah.
you know half-ass it. You
Crazy.
really have to
It's a
put in-
reminder of your responsibility
And
to
it's
society.
it's a certain level of like stamp that you get when you're
Yeah.
done. You know, it's like a validation where like you have an impact, like you said.
And
on
you're also
Facebook.
like, I'm an engineer now.
Yeah, I got
It's
the
a real,
ring.
it's
Pinky
a real
ring.
stunt, you know.
Pinky
It's
ring.
a flex. It's a weird
It is
flex.
a flex, yeah.
It is a
Okay.
weird flex, but it's
But
for
okay.
it's minimum for university years of studying flex. So
Yeah.
I do understand where it comes from, you know. And
Like
it's-
MD, like when you graduate
The
from
title.
being a doctor, well, you get your title and you
Yeah.
also get your little jacket, you know?
is there a title that comes with engineering or it's
Eng, yeah, just Eng.
ENG?
I mean, yeah, like Bachelor of Engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just because quickly because you mentioned, let's say I'm in the program, I don't like it, I opt out. What else can I shoot for?
Jeez. Oh my god, that
Oh,
happened
so
to
there's-
me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just say that quick and then Hansa can get into it. Like, I dropped out of mechanical engineering, like I said, and I still love math, right? That's why we're in engineering, because we love math. I wanted to become a math teacher.
So you still have options.
You still have options, for sure. Like, I actually dropped out of mechanical, applied to McGill, math education, and ended up coming right back into industrial engineering. But if you're great at math and you suck at, like, applied physics or chemistry, you can still study actuarial mathematics. You could study, there's a program at Concordia, which is math and stats, so mathematics and
So
statistics.
the funnel is still wide enough.
For
where
sure, dude.
If
yeah.
A doesn't work, you have a whole gap of
If
other
you're
options.
in
Absolutely.
engineering, you have done all these prerequisites
True,
before, like, you
there
know,
you
math,
go, there you
chems,
go.
bio. So there's a lot of fields you can go into.
So
Yeah,
it doesn't limit you to,
Yeah,
to
no,
one
No,
option.
you could even go to, let's say, physiotherapy if you want to, and there's like a 1 year preliminary.
Change in between, but
Yeah.
you like you mentioned, you still study the scientific prerequisites or X,
exactly.
Y, and whatever. it
Bio
has to
2,
be.
Bio 1, organic chemistry, mechanics.
Let's hop off a bit from the seriousness. Let's
Sure,
ease it out our way here. You're wearing the
No,
Raptors sweater. Oh,
Oh, I
You
just
think-
want to ask you.
So,
So I remember I was watching the last podcast, and
Okay.
you said you're gonna bring a book every time.
yeah,
Where's the
so
book?
I brought Hamza, but for the sake of the podcast, if you really want a book, if you want to learn how to manipulate people, and destroy people's lives,
48 laws
The
of power.
48 Laws of Power. So this is by Robert Greene. It's actually a great book. I didn't finish it because I was reading. I was like, Hamza, oh my god,
Sarkis.
Sarkis actually got further than me. He's at Law 27. But yeah, this book scares me.
It is a very strong book.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
I don't know if you've read it.
No.
I don't know if you know like the context behind it, but what it does is it's like just like the last one where Andrew was talking about, where he gives you a title and then there's a little short passage. Same thing over here. So they give you a title of the power and then they explain to you how
It's a law, yeah.
it's a law more than anything else. So they explain to you how, let's say, keep your friends close with the tacky comment, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, and then they give you. I love how you move things around. I love how you're still moving things around.
Sorry.
Jesus, clown number
Yeah,
9. So yeah, like here, pass it on.
Yeah. Here,
and I'll
pose as
just-
a friend, work as a spy. Like that's terrible.
You know, yeah. It
Pose
teaches,
as a friend and then work as
it
a spy.
teaches you. I'll zoom this in after the editing. So like Law 14, and I'll show it to you right here. You know, like it gives you, like you can take a look at it, and it tells you legitimately a hack on how to better your,
How to gain power.
how to get dominant characteristics
It's
out of
very
somebody.
manipulative.
And it shows you
That's
examples
true.
throughout
Yeah.
history where it's happened and where it's worked,
Yeah.
and it goes so deep. It gives you even it gives you exceptions to the rules. It gives you times where you shouldn't do it and times where you should.
For example, learn to keep people dependent on you.
That's crazy.
That sounds terrible.
Just like how
Why would you
just
want
like
to do
how
that?
I've learned Andrew to be dependent on me. You know, he needs this 40 minutes to talk and channel it.
This one I actually do with Hamza. So get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I guess this is
Good
the
to know.
recommended
Good
This
to
is
know,
book.
where I
man.
learned from.
This is the recommended book of the day.
No,
Hamza,
definitely not. I'd recommend a different book.
go for it.
So
for
I've been
sure.
reading this book called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari.
Sapiens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like this brief history of humankind,
Okay.
and it really goes back, to I'd say about 150,000 BC. And
Okay,
obviously,
so it goes-
things weren't recorded then. But like, I'll give you an example of what he says in the book. So one thing he talks about is how, like, the reason people started writing. So what happened is you went from all these tribes or essentially what happened is these nomadic tribes
Okay.
settled down and created cities.
Yeah.
And what happened then is when you're in a city, you're obviously communicating with a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interactions going on. There's a lot of trades going on. There's a lot of properties being owned, and you needed a way to keep track of it. So how would you do that?
You write it down somewhere.
You write it down,
Take a
and
log.
that's why writing
Came
became
about.
a thing.
Wow.
So the earliest records of writing are essentially,
Trade talks.
yeah,
That's crazy.
exactly. And it's like, okay, so we had to keep track of who paid their taxes. So they write everyone down, and they're like, okay, he paid his taxes, he paid his taxes.
And to think,
This guy owns this property. We have to write it down. We have to have a way to know that.
and
you
to
know?
think now we're where we are, where we just
Yeah,
shoot off a text
exactly. It's
message. You know, like you owe me this set amount. I'll send you an e-transfer, and it's done from there. So the
Yeah,
book.
exactly.
So the book, does it talk about like the history of humankind? Is it just like about everything, or it dwells onto one particular thing?
No, it's pretty much everything, and it's
Okay.
like why we are the way we are today. Like it talks about how the reason humans talk is initially it was to gossip about each other, because we're a very social animal.
We've still kept that.
Yeah.
We've still kept that gossip going on, huh?
And like the reason people started talking to each other was to say, okay, like this guy in our tribe is like this,
Can't
this
be
person is
trusted.
like this.
Hamza can't be trusted.
Oh man,
Stuff like that.
Like, you shouldn't be with Andrew
And then
because
this,
like he'll do this to you. He'll manipulate you. He's a crazy man.
he is though. But that's why. That's
beside the point.
beside the point being. So it's called Sapiens once again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess guys, the book for this week's recommendation from Hamza himself is called Sapiens. I'll get the details. I'll post the link somewhere. I'll post the image
And
somewhere.
like it,
Sure,
it
yeah.
really
Well, like right
changes
here.
the way you see a lot.
I'll
of
cover
things.
Andrew's face entirely with it because
You should do that.
I should. It's jealousy, man.
Yeah, another thing he says in the book is going back to the quote thing you started.
Oh yeah.
He says one of history's iron laws is that luxuries become necessities and spawn new obligations.
Wow.
So if we look at what he means by that is actually he was talking about more of like a perspective of when nomadic tribes settled and became sedentary and like a historical perspective like that. But if we take it to today, if you look back at office culture about 30, 40 years ago, say you had to send a document to someone, what would you do? You'd get up from your office, you'd walk to the fax machine, you'd talk to different people, you'd communicate with them, you'd socialize, you'd chill by the machine, wait in line, talk with your coworkers, put it in, wait a bit, it would get sent, you take it back and you're on your way.
Yeah.
And what happened after that is email was invented.
Yeah.
So email, it initially started off as a luxury, but now it became a necessity. Everyone has to use email now. No one uses fax machines anymore.
Crazy. Yeah.
Everyone emails everything, and it's become more convenient. And the last part of the quote is that it spawns new necessities. So what happened now is because you can email everything, you have to be more productive. You can't get up, you can't go around and talk to your coworkers.
It eliminates that 20-minute break where
It
you
destroyed
exactly.
social interaction.
For sure.
And it destroyed work-life balance. Now you have a lot of
sure.
bosses that they want you to be checking your emails in
All-
the evenings,
yeah, all the
not
time.
at work,
All
on
the
the
time.
weekend
Yeah,
when
and
you're
so
at your
what
kid's soccer
happened
game. It's
Is
crazy.
it created all these people that are very anxious, like they're on their phones, attention spans of 6 seconds now.
Yeah.
All these kids nowadays being prescribed ADHD. Like
Which is
all
also,
these,
it's also a crazy
Yeah,
topic that
exactly.
we can go. All right, so what happened?
it videotaping or
yes,
not?
It is. So what happened
Is
is
it on?
Andrew! What happened is we talked shit for 10 minutes about artificial intelligence, and then to our surprise, the phone shut down by itself and didn't want to record anything. Signs that artificial intelligence is already a step ahead of us. Let's channel this out and end it in a good way. Hamza, thank you very much for being on my
pleasure,
podcast. Andrew, always a great guest to have.
Yo, are we ever going to be on your podcast and not have it cut out?
Yo, are we ever going to be on my podcast and not talk for an hour? Because it was ridiculously long, man.
my bad.
No, I'm kidding. Apple, once again, I'm going to blame you for this. Fix your
Fuck
shit.
Apple.
Before I change my phone and get myself one of these, like,
Samsung.
Things, 'cause
Samsung.
I-
This is
Whoa,
sponsored
this
by
one vibrated
I
when it
Buy
was in my
Direct
hand.
and Samsung.
I have no idea why. That's true.
See, I feel like a Samsung phone wouldn't stop 50 minutes in, although half of my data is still
Samsung.
available. Guys, once again, thank you very much for being on. I had a great time talking.
It's a
I would
pleasure,
love to
man.
have you on again.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, whenever you're working on some of your ideas, get back on. Do you have any
Sure.
words to end the podcast on?
I want to thank the 4 viewers that watch this.
Yeah, man.
Like, I appreciate
appreciated.
you actually listening to what our
appreciated.
dumbasses have to say, but at least we brought someone smart this time. So there's some value to be reaped from these videos.
Anything to say to finish off?
No, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank
It
you
was
very
nice to
much.
be here, man.
Everybody have a wonderful day.
Yeah, man.